So there's, we won't do it this evening because we'll have time tomorrow. There's a very wonderful thing that we can do, which is to ask people, after doing that, to sum up in one word what it felt like to be listened to in that way, and what it felt like to listen in that way. And we will do that when we do some more of this work tomorrow. It's always stunning and deeply moving to me to hear what people's experience of this is. Because actually what you just did there is so rare. It's so unbelievably rare. And since, and I find this more and more in the work that I do of various sorts, so important to learn how to do this. And for those of you, from the Amnesty group who are here, it's very interesting when you get into the whole field of the medical and psychological care of people who've been tortured. And that's an extreme example, of course, but you can think of this in lots of other ways. Really examine what has made the difference to people who've had this extraordinary trauma and then encounter all sorts of people who want to help them. That almost universally the most important thing is what makes the change in their life is when they finally encounter someone who is able to create space in which that person can tell their own story. Space which is not filled with judgment, not even necessarily rushing to care for or fix anything, but it creates a ground in which the natural ability of the personality to reintegrate and to heal comes forth. It's a rare skill, and it's odd that it's rare, but it's actually something we can all do. It's not you can't send someone off somewhere like to learn all the things they have to learn to be able to listen. But you can help people realize all the things they could just simply drop. Because that listening quality and that availability is just the natural quality of the mind and heart. In the same way that there's this natural intelligence which is evoked and strengthened through the simple practice of coming back to the breath. So these are extremely powerful tools, and we'll explore them for those of you who are coming to the workshop sessions tomorrow. But I wanted to give a little time in case you had any questions this evening. It's coming up to 9, and I suspect that's a good time to finish. But so there's usually some questions that people might have, and if you want to ask or say anything, this is a good moment to do that. Please.
What qualities do you see in our new president-elect that might be contributing to peace, world peace?
Well, first thing I would say, I think, is the way by which he got himself elected, which seems, as far as I can see from being somewhat of an outsider, to have involved getting an awful lot of people to work together. That seems to have been, I've bumped into so many people who said that, in the days before they were in another state, or they were doing this, or there was this going on or that going on. So there seemed to be some sort of ground of very, very large scale kind of teamwork. It takes an awful lot of skill to work through a whole kind of pyramid command structure that you must have to do something like that to create that sort of effect. So since peace has a huge amount to do with working together, that seems like already an early skillful sign. I would say the second thing is, I don't know whether this is regarded as controversial or not, but it does take quite a breadth of vision to keep the same man as the defense secretary to accomplish the opposite objective of what he previously accomplished. And, that's not common. I mean, most, throughout the world, most new administrations kick everybody else out. But, and this is not particularly a point about, President-elect Obama, but we are never going to get to peace on the basis that some of us are going to get there. It can only be on the basis that we're all going to get there. And I remember just recently, I was at a fantastic program where a marvelous rabbi spoke, and he said, you know, no one is so stupid that they are wrong 100% of the time. And if you think about it, just think of the huge number of people in our lives, especially people of our age, how we have written off because they said one stupid thing. And on the basis of that, we go, well, to that person. Let alone the ability to write off huge segments of humanity, either on the basis of gender or hair color or race or politics. And he said, he said, I appeal to you, he said, please go out in the next week and find someone you despise and find out what it is you can learn from them. And this is completely counterintuitive to our current global culture, which is based on us versus them, everywhere. But if you think about it, that's probably the thing we have to reverse. So I'm deeply impressed by someone who's willing to begin their administration by not booting everybody else out. Otherwise, it's not going to be any different, frankly.
I have my students reading Tutu's book, and
Oh, yes.
they struggle with forgiveness. Can you
Mm.
talk a little bit about the
Forgiveness.
practice of
Forgiveness.
centering and
Yes.